You've seen her work with brands like Pfizer, Merck, and American Express. But now, Nina Froriep, real mission, helping solopreneurs and creatives punch above their weight on LinkedIn using just their story and a smartphone. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I love the introduction. I'm going to steal it.
Yeah, no, feel free. Feel free. I mean, it's all about you, so feel free. So let's just kind of jump right in. So you've done a lot of different things in your career.
I haven't, right? I've stayed true to video, some in some form of way or filmmaking. But yes, I mean, I've been a business owner for 30 years. So lots of pivots, lots of survival tactics, and lots of shifts.
So you've done some things for people like Pfizer, Merck, American Express. What's it like managing productions at that scale?
It's very different, right? You're a huge team at that point. In the later days, I was executive producer, so it really was just slinging resources, money, people, egos, creatives, all of that, and it was just a massive less it got less at that point it got less and less creative. And when I was younger, it was kind of fun because I always sort of worked on documentaries and on corporate, and the documentary was no resources, but highly creative, highly intellectually stimulating. And then the corporate was tons of really awesome budgets where we could do really fancy shit. I hope shit is okay on your show. But it was probably a little less creative, because if we were too creative, then certain big Fortune 500 companies, they don't want creative, they want whatever their doctrine is. So yeah. It was a good balance. It was a good balance, but I think if without the balance, I think it would have been a little boring. But doing both was fantastic.
So what led to the shift away from, doing that, like the higher budget film production, to working with entrepreneurs and creatives?
It was a really interesting time, to not say also scary time, about 10 years ago, when anybody with a smartphone in their back pocket was able to create videos. It didn't mean there were good videos, but there were videos being created left, right, and center. And the people who had formerly paid me good money to create videos for them, sort of the middle-sized companies, were no longer willing to pay anything or hardly anything for it. And I did not want to be stuck only doing the big corporations, because those didn't hire my company, Clockwise Productions. They hired me, which meant that they owned me. And I was at that point at an age where I never liked being owned to begin with, but it was getting to a point where I was like, no, thank you very much. I really want to have much more control over my time. I also had a really strong desire to be location independent, and doing big production stuff and being location independent, those two things don't go together. So I figured I can mutter along for another 10 years or 15 years until I retire. Or I can reinvent myself. And I saw the internet as a great opportunity. I mean, I saw that there was opportunity for video. I saw the opportunity for a lot of do it yourself. So and I've always been somebody who likes a challenge. So I jumped in feet first.
So what's the biggest difference though, like between creating content for a Fortune 500 company versus, say, a solo entrepreneur?
I mean, where to start? It's such a huge difference. I mean, a big Fortune 500, you do a lot of lip service. Look, you show up with a huge camera that you don't really need, but the client is paying paying $500,000, so they want to see a big camera. Or, it's 5 layers of lawyers, executives, and God knows, VPs who all don't want to lose their jobs, who all have an input. And by the end, you have this beautiful creative thing that's this big, and by the end, the creative part is like this big after everybody's pissed on it. So there's so many layers of what people need and want, and understandably so. on the corporate side, and on the doing it for small business owners, I'm speaking directly to the CEO of the company. I'm having direct impact on what is creatively being done, and I'm now doing soup to nuts. Right? I for years I've never touched equipment. I never, I didn't edit. I didn't do any of this. I was just like siloed in putting teams together, running the money and running the teams, and being really good at logistics. Now, the logistics are kind of irrelevant. The money is kind of irrelevant. But it's all about the creative, the standing out, the being different than others. What can we do with just a phone and this person who now is all of a sudden the talent, right? Namely you and me. How can we do, what can we do best with that at hand? So in a way, much more fascinating, but zero budget, which of course is never zero budget because your time is worth something. It's a very different world, but I find for one, a lot less stress.
I was thinking when you were talking earlier about people, all of a sudden people being able to record video with phone and whatnot. I remember back then, Gary Vaynerchuk, I'm sure you've heard of him, speaking about how people at that time liked raw video. They didn't want all this polished video. They wanted raw video. And he made a big deal about that. But then I think to today, where most creators, if they're doing like the video part full time, they're putting it up on YouTube, and it's sometimes it's as good as a Netflix production.
Yeah.
It's
There's levels.
interesting. Where it's really interesting where the whole niche has gone. So how did you develop your approach to founder-led content?
It was long and painful. So my first set of videos, when I realized I needed video for myself to promote myself. Now I'm a producer, I'm a director. I've been in the film industry at that point for 25 years. So I set out to shoot my first videos, and I did what I knew best, or the only way I knew how to do video. I had like a little prosumer camera, which lives somewhere between your phone and a professional setup. And I had a little fake teleprompter set up and had some lights, and I moved all the furniture in my living room, and wrote these two atrocious scripts, and put on my best outfit and put on some makeup and put myself in front of the camera. And now it's like 7 hours later, I still don't have something that I think is good, and I'm having a complete nervous breakdown because this is not easy. So it was so bad that I actually went down to my little corner beauty shop on my block and had my first facial in my life ever. Now, the facial didn't help. All the equipment didn't help. Fast forward, I really learned that it's never about the equipment. It never is about the equipment.
You mentioned authenticity while you were discussing all that, and I feel like in today's economy anyway, authenticity is huge for people, and it's what they're looking for. I mean, I just recently, I mentioned we have a Las Vegas YouTube channel, and I went doing some research about 2 months ago, just to sort of see what are people looking for, what type of, I was really looking for video ideas. What I found out was I found multiple threads online in different platforms where they were talking about, Vegas influencers and their great distrust for them because, people who create videos, they think people miss the little subtle things, but they don't. So like, for instance, they would say, oh, such and such a creator, they go to this place and they try to act like they paid for it and then it's a legit review, but then they pick up on little things like, as they were panning the room, there's an envelope from the manager of the hotel with their name on it, that kind of stuff. And so it's interesting to me how important, like what he was trying to infer with the raw video was that it makes you more authentic. And I'm with you. I think probably 98% of his videos back then were very polished, and the other 2% were like him on an airplane with his earbuds in, talking to the phone. That's only 2%. But I think that that authenticity aspect of the content and just being who you are is really what works long term. And I think it'll work today, it'll work tomorrow. That's the key.
Absolutely. And I think that is what Gary, if Gary is anything, he's super authentic, right? I mean, he'll just give it straight to you. There is no holding back. And that is what we want, right? The
Yeah.
production value, if you want to spend the money, if you have the money, go ahead and hire a crew if that makes you feel more comfortable. It's all great. And I want to support all of my old colleagues. But really what's important is, I just was talking about that to my clients are mostly Gen Xers and boomers, sort of the audience that is not that comfortable with a built-in, like, ooh, I can show up on camera anytime I want, like millennials and younger. And there's like sort of this realization, people are not going to look at you as a model or as a talent in terms like we used to, right, where you had to be pretty skinny, young, etc. People are now looking for, what do you have to say that helps them? And how you look, I always say, like, it doesn't matter how you look. I mean, you want to show up professionally, like you would show up for your clients if you met them in a professional setting on a Zoom call or in real life. But at the same time, you also want to keep sort of that freshness and the you-ness. You don't want to have that get lost in being stiff and uncomfortable, whatever, on camera. So being you is, it's like, I would say it's like a dating profile. You don't want to go on a dating profile and end up with somebody who shows up to the date who's 30 years older than what they looked like on their dating profile, and 200 pounds lighter or heavier or whatever. So you want to make sure that you show up the way you show up for your clients on social media.
So why did you choose LinkedIn as the primary platform for your clients' video content?
I mean, why wouldn't you? So I think, I mean, there's a long list, but to give you sort of my top pointers is, I mean, first of all, I personally love LinkedIn because it's simple. I don't have to post every, like, 3 times a day. I don't, to stand out. Actually, LinkedIn will punish the algorithm, will quote unquote punish me if I post more than once in a 24-hour span. I'm People are there for business. It's a very clear proposition. People are on LinkedIn because they're looking for a job, for clients, for partners. It's just a clear conversation. We're not also checking out grandma and the ex-boyfriend and what my son is doing, right? It's very clear why I'm on LinkedIn. Um, LinkedIn allows you to really stand out and grow organically. It's the last platform left, or the only platform at this point, where you can grow organically with a content creation strategy without ads and without, scare tactics and all that. And posting once a yeah, I have clients who do well with posting once a week. Now it depends a little bit on what you're selling. Is it a high ticket? Is it a low ticket? Is it a long tail, short tail? That all matters. But in general, you can really get your ideal client and grow your business organically on LinkedIn with posting a couple of times a week, not a couple of times a day. And then I just think that the conversation on LinkedIn is more intellectual, more IP driven. Like my clients, for instance, are all they sell their intellectual property. And so I'm not the bakery, I'm not the dog grooming business, I'm not the bike shop. I don't have a built-in visual because what I'm selling is intellectual. So LinkedIn is a good place for that. So I'm selling this here myself on camera or on a graphic or whatever it is. And for that, it's a great marketplace.
Yeah, no, that all makes sense. It totally makes sense to me. So if someone came to you and said, I hate being on camera,
Yeah.
how do you help them change that mindset?
I mean, I would first ask them, like, why do you hate, like, what is it that you hate about being on camera? Because it can be different things. I've had clients, men, by the way, who thought they looked too old. I'm like, so it's not just the women. Um, it's I've had people who say, I hate my voice. I've had people say, what if I say something wrong? Why would people even want to listen to me, right? So we've got the spectrum from physical insecurities to imposter syndrome and pretty much anything in between, and a lot of other stuff I haven't mentioned. So I try to, I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist. I know enough to, guide people, but I kind of want to find out is what is it? Has there been a bad experience, right? And then why do you want to show up on video? Because there's people who just really don't do well with video. They are better off doing carousels and nice graphics and, choose something else if it's really super traumatic. And then very often what happens is once people sort of get like, I love putting them into a situation like you and I have right now, Mike, right? We're on Zoom, we're having a casual conversation, there's no nerves, it's not live. Just, me asking my clients a couple of pertinent questions about their business. And the first couple of questions are throwaway questions while they're still maybe a little self-conscious and nervous. And then I'll ask them the real good questions as we go through the conversation. And all of a sudden, we have great content in them answering my questions. And that is often the first step to get people comfortable. Because I always tell everybody, you are on Zoom probably all day long as a service provider. Are you nervous when you get on with your clients on Zoom? No, you probably are not. And video, it's just a different, we're just calling it something different, right? And if it's the imposter syndrome, then it's the workaround. Okay, what are you selling? Why do you think people would not want to hear about this?
Yeah, I interviewed a person. His name is Brendan Kumarasamy, and he is a communication expert. And one of the tips he gave people on just learning how to speak better in meetings or as a public speaker was to just turn their phone on, point it at themselves, and talk to it. And he said 90 seconds a day. That's it, 90 seconds. And he said after 30 days, you won't believe how much easier it will be for you to speak. And that's not even getting past I've heard that same tip for video of record yourself 90 seconds every day with no intention to post it anywhere. And before long, you'll realize I don't really look that bad on video and I don't sound that bad on video either. But what do you think about faceless videos?
Yeah, somebody asked me today about avatar videos. Same answer. Um, we are creating videos as humans for other humans to consume on LinkedIn or any other social media platform, mainly and foremost to build trust. And if I just have a voice and some B-roll being other footage than the main footage, which in this case is me or you, I'm not building that trust. So then I'm like, why bother? Every once in a while, there's a great opportunity for a how-to video. But even in a how-to video, I will urge people to have the little, the little roundabout thingamajig where your face is on it. Have that. People buy from people. They don't buy from companies. They don't buy ideas. They buy from people. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to build that trust and show up. The video can be 10 seconds for all I care. It can be 30 seconds for all I care. And then you can go into maybe showing something. But you have to show up as you show up for your business. The biggest compliment I ever got with a client of mine who, brilliant coach, one of the first people to embrace podcasting when no one even knew what a podcast was. He had to explain to people what it was. And as he said, he had a great face for podcasting. And we got him on video and he hated it. And it was like, it was pulling teeth at time. But once he nailed it, the shift for him was so dramatic. And what he said to me, and it just made my heart sing, was, you helped me show up not just on video, you helped me show up for my business. Because he was no longer hiding, right? And that is that confidence piece, I talked about earlier, the clarity, confidence, and consistency. Having the confidence, it really, we cannot not show up for our business. If you are a solopreneur, you need to be comfortable to show up because you are on Zoom, you are on networking calls, you are the face of your business, whether you like it or not. And if you don't, then maybe you should stay in corporate or do something completely different. But if you are a coach, a consultant, or even the face of your company or your company's division or department, you need to show up.
Totally, totally. I think that the faceless videos, even just when you watch them on YouTube, they annoy me. I want to see who, and what you just said is why. I want to see the human being that's behind the message. And you can't really, I can't connect with an avatar or some robotic voice. That's just not going to happen. So, but let's say someone only has a phone, a window, and a message. What's your advice for making that work?
Oh, that's so easy. That's the easiest way of making it work. So if you don't have a tripod or anything, you just want to grab a couple of books. Unfortunately, we don't have phone books at home anymore. So grab the biggest book you can find or your Amazon delivery box. There you go. You prop up your phone such that you have the phone and the little light green dot where, you know, the lens is where it records is on the same height. So you're not talking down to people or talking up at people. I always tell people I don't want to see nostrils. I want to see straight on. You make sure the window is to your side or in front of you. Definitely not behind you. Ideal is an overcast day because you get nice regular light, but it's fine. These videos are not long. There can be sunshine. And then you hit the record button and you go for it.
Yeah, it's funny you said not behind you. I was chuckling as you said that because one time I had one of these interviews and the gentleman showed up and I was like, uh-oh, what do
Witness
I say?
protection
You know,
program.
what am I going to say to this guy? Well, no, he was so excited that he was on vacation and he had
Mhm.
scheduled this interview. And he says, I have this beautiful natural backdrop. He says, normally I use one of those electronic backdrops, but I have this beautiful natural backdrop. And I said, you know what? You're right. Your backdrop is beautiful. There's only one problem. I can't see you. You're dark.
Yep. That's
And
what
he
I
says,
call witness protection program, people.
yeah, exactly. And I said, he's like, what do you mean I'm dark? I said, and that's what I told him. I said, you ever see one of those like witness protection posters where it's just like a black person, like
Oh, yep.
big old blob? Yeah. Well, that's what it looks like. Oh no. So then he moved, and of course, lighting was great, but when he moved, he then you could see him. Just that kind of gave me a chuckle when you said that.
Yeah.
So let me get down.
And you want to be intentional with your background as well, right? You want to have it be on brand and or at least at the minimum non-distracting, like your background, or on brand, right? So like I have my little, New York, I'm
Yeah.
in New York, so I have my little New York decal. I spend a lot of time in Switzerland where I'm from, where nothing is in the colors of my branding. So I had a little backdrop done and I throw that in, and so I'm always on brand with my background.
Awesome. So you've had 3 decades behind the lens, Emmy winning documentaries, and then one-on-one coaching for everyday entrepreneurs. What do you believe is the real power of video today, and how can someone use it to completely change their life or business?
So I mean, the real power of video today is to create that trust and make a connection. Period. Full stop. And there's tons of other stuff I could say, but that is the core of it, right? Create the connection, human to human, create trust. So that's why you can't get around doing video as a small business owner, or I mean any human interaction, right? It doesn't matter where you are. And the second question, second
And
part.
how can it change their life and business?
Um, I mean, I think really what I had talked about with my client Brad earlier about is really for me personally, that was the biggest shift because I went through it myself. So the shift of learning to stand in front of your business and say, this is who I am, this is who you're buying from, and this is why you should buy from me. And here I am. You're not hiding behind beautiful graphics and a faceless website, which drives me absolutely bonkers, by the way. Just make sure that people know who you are. And in doing so, you just own what you do in a very different way. It's a very powerful transformation that happens when you show up physically for yourself and your business and your clients in the process.
That's a great answer. It's a really great answer. So how can my listeners connect with you if they'd like some help with this?
Well, first and foremost, please join me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Nina Froriep with, that's the nice thing about having an unpronounceable last name. You're the only one. So LinkedIn is really it. And my website is clockwiseproductions.com. And we have some free resources on the website. And, obviously just, reach out to me on LinkedIn if you want direct help. You can always DM me. I always say my digital home is LinkedIn. So I'm on there all day long.
Well, thank you so much for being here today and sharing all the knowledge that you shared. I feel like it's been very valuable.
Thank you so much, Mike.
So from directing Emmy-winning films to helping entrepreneurs turn smartphone videos into client magnet content, Nina Froriep shows us that storytelling isn't just about budget, it's about boldness. If you've ever doubted your ability to show up on camera, let this be your wake-up call. Your story is your strategy. And if you're a tech leader looking to level up your communication, leadership, and brand presence through smarter content and stronger community, join us inside the Executive Tech Alliance. It's where modern leaders grow, connect, and lead out loud. There's a link in the description below. Thanks for being here for another episode of Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge. We're here every single Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific time.